Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another film review. Tonight we're looking at a classic 1980s sort of road trip survival horror starring Rutger Hauer as the Hitchhiker in The Hitchhiker. This is released by Second Sight. This is their new release. It's the collector's edition. It comes with a J card, but it's actually quite a good J card, that one, which is pretty cool. The box set itself comes with a set of art cards, which I've not opened. Comes with a ginormous book, really thick book, a bit like a Picnic at Hanging Rock, and it's got like essays and making of sort of in there. It's got another book, a softback book of the screenplay of the film. And it comes in the 4K and in the Blu-ray format. This has been a long time sort of coming. They've been advertising this as coming out for quite a while. It's quite a popular film. I saw it back in the day and I used to really like it in the 80s. But as I've got older, my opinions of it have changed slightly, but we'll get to that. This is based on a guy called, I think his name is Jim, and he's taken a car across America, all the way across to California, because he's delivering it there to a guy, and he's picked this job up because he wants to go and move to California from where he's living. I think he's from Chicago, and he's driving through this long motorway. He's feeling sleepy at night. The rain's starting to come down. He's got his radio on. He's got his typical 80s mullet, and he's starting to fall asleep. So he sort of like gets a wake-up call with a lorry, as you can expect that coming. And he sees this hitchhiker, played by Rutger Hauer, and he thinks, oh, I'll pick him up because it'll keep me awake, it'll be company. So he pulls over and picks up this hitchhiker, and he's absolutely soaked to the bone. And Jim keeps asking him, where you going, where you going? He's not replying. He's just diverting the questions all over the place. And he won't tell him where he's sort of going and stuff like this. And as they go further down the line, they overtake a Volkswagen Beetle that's sort of on the side of the road, sort of crashed. And already Rutger Hauer, his character, I think his name is John, is making it very uncomfortable for him. And he stops the car and tells him to get out, and he won't get out. He says, I'm not getting out. He says he needs to go to a gas station. I think the lad thinks that Beetle car's his. So, oh, you want the gas station? I'll take you there. And he goes, yeah, I want to buy some smokes. He goes, and gas. And he goes, I don't need gas. I thought you needed gas. No, it's not my car. And then the conversation sort of moves on, and he sort of says to him, oh, and he starts laughing. And the other guy laughs, what are you laughing at? He goes, oh, that's what the other guy said to me, the one in the car that picked me up back there. Oh, was that him in the car? Yeah, I hope so, because he couldn't come out the car. Why? Because I cut off his legs and his head and his arms. So, and I'm going to do it to you, sort of thing. And he keeps threatening him, and they come to this sort of roadblock, and he sort of got this knife, and he's threatening him to don't sort of drop him in it. So they get through this roadblock and they carry on their trip, and he's still making all these threats to Jim, and sort of like holding a knife up to his eyes. Said, do you know how much blood comes out of an eyeball, and all this sort of stuff. And Jim starts crying, and Rutger Hauer sort of says to him, well, just say 4 words to me, I want to die. And he's trying to get him to repeat to say this. And as he's going through it, Jim notices that the car lock's undone. So he sort of then pushes him, and Rutger Hauer goes flying out the car and onto the road. So he manages to speed away and get this hitchhiker out of the car. But John then stands up, and he's sort of like, you can see it in his face, said, the game is on. And so he's now going to pursue Jim down this motorway, in a sort of Jeepers Creepers kind of style, but not as a monster, but as a serial killer. As another car passes Jim as he goes along with a boat on the back and a family in there, Jim's so relieved he sort of waves at the kids and that in the car. And in the back of the car, Howling sits up, so he's in that car. And they end up getting killed. And all these bizarre things start kicking off. And this report's going in, the police believe that it's Jim that's doing the kills. He lands at a cafe and he meets our female lead, who's played by Jennifer Jason Leigh. This is one of her early films, and they sort of bond, and sort of a relationship sort of bonds between them two throughout the film, as she starts to believe him that he's not the killer of all these people along the roadside, and is in fact the victim. But all these things happen, and all these terrible things happen to the police and stuff like that. So what is going to happen? Is he going to catch up with Jim? Is there going to be a final shootout? Or is Jim going to come to his demise to the hitchhiker? You need to watch it and find out. I'm not going to tell you anything else apart from it's a great film. It's a really cool film. It's so 80s, it's unreal. The music's very 80s. The pluses of the film, it looks pretty cool on 4K. I've got to say though, it's not the best restoration. This has taken quite a while for them to do it, so it must have been a very poor print that they purchased to release this, because it doesn't look spectacular. There is quite a lot of grain in the film and quite a lot of blurriness, and it's not like the best of prints. But saying that, it still looks vibrant and cool. The acting's cool. It's good to see Rutger Hauer in this film. There's lots of suspense in the film. There's lots of big, expensive stunts in the film, like a garage exploding, cars driving through doors, and car crashes, and sort of like shootouts. There's a lot going on as Jim's fighting for his life in this survival horror. The negatives of the film is it hasn't aged brilliantly. It's still very cool, but it is of its time. And if you treat it as a popcorn movie, you'll love it. But if you try to get anything else out of it, I think you'd be a little bit let down, because it doesn't offer anything else. Whereas Jeepers Creepers, when that film sort of came out and there was that sort of road rage sort of thing going on, it built up and it changed when they found that underground thing, and then we found it was a monster. This isn't. It tells you everything when they first meet, and it is then a cat and mouse sort of thing. There are some good bits in the film. There's some amazing bits in the film. There's some, but it's a lot of it you don't see it. Like there's one part in the film where Jim's been locked up by the police in the jail, and he wakes up the next day and he can come out of the jail because it's been unlocked, and all the police have been shot. But you don't see any of that. You don't hear any of it. So it's kind of like, oh, I wish we could have saw some of that, like the Terminator sort of thing, But you don't see a lot of that. But you do see when it comes to the car chases and stuff like that. But it's really cool, and it's got quite a couple of twists near the end, which are quite, shocking. And you think, oh God, I wish that didn't have happened, but it did. But it's still a really cool film. I'm going to score the film amazing watch and give it a 9 out of 10. I've given it quite high because of the history of the film. It means a lot to me. It's a big part of my youth. I watched this. It used to be one of my comfort films. We all have comfort films, what we can turn to. And this was one of mine. And I used to turn to this quite a lot to watch it. Just because I like the sort of deserted space of lots of many people in it. I like the music. It's got a very sort of synthesized sort of soundtrack, very sort of ambient soundtrack, and it's visually quite nice and stunning, and you know, it's always been a good looking film, and it's got a few shocks in there and surprises, and the characters are likable. Jim's likable, Jennifer Jason Leigh's character's likable, even Roger Howard's character is still quite a likable character, because you know, he's quite funny in some places, and it has a couple of really great scenes in the film of between Jim and John. That's really cool. So I do recommend it, and I'll give it a 9 out of 10. Any of you guys seen it? If you have, let me know down below. It's definitely not a 10 out of 10 film. It lacks a few things. It lacks the gore. There is some gore in there, but not a lot. That's only from, you know, gunshots. It just lacks gore. We could have seen the deaths in the other car. That would have been good. And I think, as the story is quite obvious, it doesn't sort of move a direction anywhere. It stays on that road. It kind of, that sort of lacks that sort of creativity, I suppose, but it doesn't take it away from being a great film. It just means it's predictable, and it's a comfort popcorn film, and that's all it is. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Hope you've enjoyed this little look at the Hitcher. I'm so glad to get this in my collection, and this will definitely go in my top 10 physical releases of 2024, which will be up on my channel in December. In December, you'll get 2 top 10s. You'll get my top 10 physical release of the year, and then you'll get my top 10 films of 2024. So look out for those. Till then, check out some other channels. Check out Horror Hands, The Horror Geek, Mountain View Film, RS Design, Pizzawell. I am Isolde, Cat Watches Horror Movies, Grumpy Andrews, Haunted House, and a massive shout out to my lad. Till next time, look after yourselves, look after one another, and I really hope I see you all soon.